KREM 2 News begins now.
Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus. I'm Tim Pham. This is your KREM 2 News Week in Review. Join us as we take a closer look at some of the biggest stories in the inland Northwest this past week.
Well, windows were smashed in and a local family business was vandalized. Mary Lou's milk bottle in the Garland district is now recovering after Tuesday night's break-in.
They took this ring off and then they just shimmied this off, cut the whole power.
A nightmare situation for Tom Ritchie.
Probably the worst that we've had.
The thief struck sometime after 10 p.m. on Tuesday.
Got his plier, got a tool out. All you do is get that ring off.
Thanks to security cams, part of the act was caught on camera before the thieves cut the power.
Being shut down is kind of hard to accept.
The cut power melted and spoiled much of their food products like the ice cream.
Everything's gone. It was too soft to serve.
The suspect stole the ATM and safe box inside the business. The milk bottle shut down for the day.
That's the damaged door. It's really busted that open.
A sad fact for frequent customers.
I come to the milk bottle just about every day.
Like Fred Reimers.
I can't believe it because, like I said, usually this neighborhood is real good.
The milk bottle was originally built in 1935. Now it's a diner with milkshakes, burgers, and sandwiches.
Unique to think that someone could do harm to something so precious to Spokane.
Christine Ritchie is not only Tom Ritchie's mother, but the milk bottle's previous owner.
It's very difficult to see the damage, But we had a lot of friends. We had someone stop by and offer to fix the neon.
Both Ritchies hope to be back in business Thursday.
Just hoping that customers will come back is my main goal.
The milk bottle says repairs could be in the thousands and are working with insurance to price out the damages.
It's good to have the local support.
The business already launched a GoFundMe, which has raised more than $600. The Spokane Police Department are currently working on the case. No suspects have been found in the break-in. In the Garland District, Nathan Khan, KREM 2 News.
Right now, we still don't know for certain when this murder trial will happen or where it will be held. But after today's hearing, we are closer to finding out. First up, May 14th. That is when the judge is currently expecting to hear arguments from the defense on moving the trial out of Latah County. Defense attorney Ann Taylor told the judge she would rather determine the change of venue sooner rather than later.
Especially given the length that this trial is anticipated to go, we'll need to schedule a courtroom either here or in another county in Idaho.
The state says it's premature to discuss change of venue so far out from the trial. Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson says the court should be able to determine what impacts, such as publicity, will have on the actual jury pool.
There has to be a showing that that publicity or whatever has impacted the juror to the point where that juror cannot sit in this box as a fair and impartial juror and make a decision based only on the evidence presented in this courtroom. That's the issue that Your Honor is going to have to decide on the change of venue question. And you can't do that based on a bunch of affidavits from experts who say, Judge, there's been a lot of publicity.
There are other considerations besides just the massive amount of media and an impact on potential jurors. That's what we're going to talk about. I think it's timely. I think it's appropriate to set a change of venue motion. I think it is what makes the most sense for the court to make that determination and set a trial date from there.
The judge says he wants to make an informed decision about changing the venue, which is why he wants to see what the defense has to present in their arguments, but fully recognizing that he can still deny their request. A trial date has not yet been decided, but the state is proposing a trial date of March 3rd next year. But that won't be determined until after the change of venue hearing in May. Reporting in Moscow, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
I've imagined coming back and seeing what it's like later, but I don't know. Just get lost in your own thoughts as you walk around this space.
The Vandal Healing Garden and Memorial is really meant to reflect the needs of our community, and that means reflecting the needs of the individuals in our community. This needs to be a space that works for future tragedies. You could hire professionals to do this, but in this case we feel like to actually do what we're trying to do. It needs to be the students. That little angle there is our choice, right? We wanted to make sure that this project was a result of listening. We've talked to everybody from experts on suicide prevention, because these can become difficult spots there. We've talked to family members, we've talked to friends.
The families were very positive. I mean, they wanted to express that their children that they lost were vibrant people. Ethan, Xana, Madison, and Kaylee were all very vibrant, happy, joyful people.
We were all here. We all remember the moments when it was happening. We remember that uncertainty that surrounded, loss, and just the devastation. Like they are vandals. If anybody's going to understand what vandals need, it's vandals.
Grief, mourning, healing, it's all non-linear, and everybody experiences it in like very different ways along a very different timeline. I've gone through loss recently, and even just working on the project has been extremely healing, so I can't imagine what that's going to be like for people who actually have that space.
It only has an 8-foot break, and they're talking
about 10 foot. 10 foot. We've decided to go along with kind of interconnecting pathways that kind of flow through the site. So our memorial space is kind of in this more sunlit spot, so that can really be impacted by the sun and bring a little bit of that energy into that space.
It's uplifting, but it's a space to be in that's not sad like most typical memorials are. I want to help students, because I know how I felt when everything happened, and I wanted to help other people through that.
When we took on this project, with the understanding that we were carrying the heart of the university. And each of those students takes on that responsibility very seriously.
That really changed, I think, the tone that we were putting into the project and how we really wanted to represent these people. This entire scheme and idea was based on allowing people to come in and experience their loss and grief in their own way. I hope they feel embraced and like they matter, and that what they are feeling and what they're going through matters, and that other people feel that way as well, and that it's okay to feel grief, it's okay to feel distraught by things that are going on in your life, but you're not alone. You have people all around you on this campus that can help you and are here for you if you need it.
Just down this hall are state and federal agencies who are here to help Spokane County wildfire victims find their next steps in the road to recovery. The Disaster Recovery Center in Elk is set up at the Country Church of the Open Bible. These centers can help you register for assistance.
So I'm going to have you select a 4-digit PIN.
But it's also an opportunity for face-to-face conversations with agencies who can answer questions about your case.
We're here and we're here to help, and I think that is an assistance in and of itself.
FEMA's Federal Coordinating Officer, Duke Davis, encourages families to take advantage of these centers. He says wildfire victims may leave here with solutions to getting their assistance.
Some folks may hear that their particular case doesn't have enough information and we're not ready to do a payout at this point. Please come in and register, talk to us about your file, and let's help you try and get to yes.
He says FEMA can help start the recovery process, but the Small Business Administration also has programs to help families get closer to normalcy.
If you really want to get back to whole and have that discussion of getting back to whole, that's where the Small Business Administration comes in with their ability to give her an interest rate as low as 2.5% for up to $500,000 in some cases.
3 things you should bring to the centers are insurance documents, titling documents, and any receipts of major items lost in the fire. The centers set up here in Elk and in Medical Lake will be here as long as they are needed. So if you have any questions about your case, these agencies are here to help. Reporting in Elk, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
After months of discussion, Spokane Valley is taking the first steps to bulk up its police force. Tuesday night, City Council approved hiring the first set of new officers.
The Spokane Valley Police Department will now start recruiting 10 more patrol officers. But that's just a fraction of the more than 24 a consulting firm says is needed to meet the city's growing population and growing calls for service.
Response times are getting longer, and the amount of time for officer-initiated calls is getting smaller.
Spokane Valley's population has risen 22% since 2007, while police calls rose 17% in the last 7 years. Assistant Chief Sean Walter says it's not just more calls, but a rise in serious crisis and behavioral health responses.
Our officers are increasingly dealing with those types of calls, and those can be very time-consuming, resource-intensive.
The 10 new positions will cost more than $2 million every year, and a one-time cost of $624,000. Council voted to use general funds that have historically supplemented street projects.
The roads shouldn't see too much of a change. We had to reprioritize some of our preservation accounts going into there, so we may focus more on pothole and maintenance repair.
We're going to defer some projects that aren't high priority, maybe till next year.
A new $20 car tab fee takes effect in July. That'll add more than $2 million to the street's budget. It's the next phase, adding another dozen or so police positions that may prove challenging.
I feel like this kind of stretched our budget to figure out how we can fund, so 10 was kind of the max without affecting other levels of service. As we go to look at how we're going to do the next 18 positions, we're going to have to start looking at some other revenue.
Next month, the city will begin gathering public input on what citizens want to see with the police force and how they'd be willing to fund even more hires. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Well, it's a bill that was pushed on by Spokane City leaders and local groups. Hate Crimes Bill 5917 will make it so hate crimes on public property will be made a felony. In September of last year, the Pride crosswalk outside of Odyssey Youth Movement in the Perry District was vandalized. Then, just 1 month later, the Pride crosswalk in front of Riverfront Park was vandalized with white splashes of paint.
We talked about how can we go after these people and make sure that they're held accountable for those actions.
That's when Spokane Councilmember Zach Sapone stepped in.
We listened to our community groups. We worked with them to advance legislation that would help all members of our community feel protected.
At the time, since the acts of vandalism happened on public rights of way, people held responsible could only face misdemeanor charges. Now, thanks to the hate crimes bill that just passed, both the Washington State Senate and House of Representatives,
it is a felony now to commit these types of hate crimes on the public property.
Those who commit hate crimes on public property could soon face up to 5 years in jail and a fine of up to $10,000. It's this legislation that gives Sapone hope.
It's an exciting feeling to see that government's working and it's doing what it's supposed to do, which is listen to community need and respond.
The bill hasn't officially passed, but the bipartisan support is one step closer to preventing these acts.
So the real goal is to make sure that these things are never occurring in the first place and that people all feel like they belong.
The bill has been sent to the governor's office for a signature.
While this originated with the LGBTQ community, it applies to all communities.
Sapone expects the governor to sign the bill. Zach Sapone tells me this is just a start for keeping hate crimes accountable. He hopes to see less hate crimes. In the studio, Nathan Han, KREM 2 News.
There's 6 Airman Principles you better know. Hut, 2, 3, 4. Aim high, use your brain, believe in self. Hut, 2, 3, 4. Be ready, expect to win, never quit. Hut, 2, 3, 4. My name is Rhonda Leonard Horowitz. I'm the daughter of Lieutenant Colonel Harlan Leonard Jr., who was a original documented Tuskegee Airman. My dad used to always say, you know, I was a dogfighting Tuskegee Airman pilot. And he would sit down and show us the pictures of all his classmates there at Tuskegee and give us the story of what happened. So I just thought that was the norm, and it happened to everyone of color. Hut, 2, 3, 4. When you fly with the Eagles, you fly first rate. They were part of what is called the Tuskegee experiment, because at that time the military, the Army Air Force, was segregated. And my dad and others like him could be non-commissioned officers, but they could not be pilots. And World War II came, and they got the call.
My name is Nikita Habimana, and I'm a sophomore at Shadle Park High School. I think it's very inspiring, and it helps us see that we can do anything we put our minds to. with enough strength, determination, we can do anything.
My dad was everything. I so respected him and what he did, and not quitting, instilling in everyone around him, even after he was out of the military, working in the community, to seek your goals, seek your path, don't give up, be prepared. So I love talking to students because I think they're sort of like sponges, even though they try to maybe sometimes act a little tough like my kids did. But they need to hear this and understand that there was things worse happening, so they respect what they have now. Hut, 2, 3, 4. The world is quickly losing these heroes, but we praise and sing. Hut, 2, 3, 4. Because now those eagles who flew home have a second set of wings.
The Silver Valley is home to an abundant, wide array of wildlife. It also has one of the busiest freeways in the entire region running right through it. And those two things don't always get along.
We have big game, so deer, elk, moose, bears, mountain lions. Laura Wolf, I'm a regional wildlife biologist with Idaho Department of Fish and Game. Typically, animals will cross along the road and often will get hit by vehicles.
Wildlife crossings simply get animals from one side of the road to the other without crossing through traffic.
In the 2-mile stretch on either side of this overpass, there were about 75 animals hit in the last 10 years.
The stretch of road from the east side of Coeur d'Alene to the Montana border has the second highest density of roadkill anywhere along Interstate 90 stretching from Seattle to Boston.
And luckily, in the last 20 years, I've spent a lot of time doing animal and aquatic conveyance. I'm Kirsten Voorhees. I am a civil engineer by degree. For my career, I do animal corridors mostly. I do bridge systems.
Osborne, Idaho is Kirsten's backyard. But this old abandoned bridge, one day becoming a wildlife crossing, wasn't her idea.
A local guy, one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet, who really had a dream and a vision, and he bugged people for a good decade.
Carl Wilson was an avid outdoorsman and a member of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation who worked hard to make this happen. To him, it seemed simple. Put this bridge that's sat unused for more than 5 decades to good use.
So the main thing is to put up funnel fencing. So that's typically 8-foot fence that as they come towards the roadway, the fence just funnels them towards the either overpass or underpass, depending on what the structure is.
That makes this crossing much cheaper than others in the region. For reference, the crossing over I-90 on Snoqualmie Pass cost about $6.2 million.
And so it's whatever it costs to purchase and implement fencing. That's basically the cost of this structure. And that right now is probably somewhere around $400,000 to $500,000.
Money that comes from a grant through the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. The smallest one awarded because no major infrastructure changes are needed. Even the pavement on the bridge stays.
It just takes 1 or 2 brave cow elk and the rest will go.
A relatively easy solution to a dangerous problem, all thanks to one man's persistence.
He said, I need you to promise me that you're going to finish this thing if I don't make it.
Carl passed about a year ago, but his dream lives on. A dream that may lead to future crossings for the Silver Valley, helping to make the interstate a little safer for everyone.
So we carry it through, and we'll continue to carry it through no matter what it takes.
For Environment Northwest, I'm meteorologist Jeremy Legoo.
When does a gift card have to pay sales tax? Because I bought a Roblox card for my grandson.
After buying the gift card for Christmas, Mike Britton noticed a $4.05 tax collected from the purchase. That raised some questions.
I don't recall paying sales tax on gift cards in stores.
So Mike reached out to the KREM to Verify team for some answers. Our sources are the Washington State Department of Revenue and Amazon. According to the Department of Revenue, general gift cards are not subject to sales tax at the time of purchase since the card is not for a specific item or service. Taxes would only be collected when the gift card is used. In Mike's case, he purchased a gift card for Roblox, an online video game, so it falls under a Washington state law. The Department of Revenue tells us, quote, sellers would collect the sales tax. For instance, sales of access to online games or items within the game that are subject to sales tax. Amazon determines the sales taxes based only on the state where the purchase was made. Mike, as a Spokane County resident, would be under Washington law. Amazon lists the following items as some that could be subject to taxes. These include music, electronic books, online games, along with in-game purchases. This question needs context. Generally, gift cards are not taxed at the time of purchase, but the digital gift cards for in-app purchases or in-game currency are taxed when you buy them. If you have something you'd like verified, email me at verify@krem.com.
There's going to be a lot of new faces this year. You lose guys like Ron Stone and Brendan Jackson that have been key cogs for a while. Just what do you think the strength of this year's team is going to be? Early, I know it's early to say.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about a lot about that as a staff, where because we don't have the big presence, the big returning players and names, Brendan Jackson, RJ Stone, Shaw Smith, Wade, Cam Wards, our team is just shaped differently. And I think the competitive nature of that at every position, quarterback, running back, who's going to replace that wide receiver, defensive end, obviously defensive backfield, linebacker. It just brings the most out of everybody around them, and I think competition naturally does that. But we set out on a 3-year time frame when we started this. Let's not take shortcuts. Let's build for the long term. And a lot of those guys that have been waiting and developing in the wings, it's their time.
Every fan, they always want to know the quarterback. Who's going to be at quarterback? Is this an open competition right now?
It's wide open. And I think the one thing that we did, we knew we had to bring in a veteran quarterback to compete with John. And Zevi just really embodies that with his career at Bryant. But also, we weren't willing just to sell out and say, hey, come in and start. We have a guy that we love, that has developed both on and off the field, that is wildly talented, but will be different. We'll run John. We'll put him in the RPO game. Zevi has a very quick trigger on the things that he can do. So we'll go all the way up to the week before Portland State before we announce a starting quarterback. And that's going to bring the best out of each other. And we've been open and honest with Zevi and John, and the best man will win, and that's going to make our program better.
Spring football right around the corner.
Yeah.
How excited are you for that?
Couldn't be more excited to finally get them back out on the field and play football. We're starting to kind of ramp up into that phase. Got 2 more weeks before spring break, and then it's time. And spring ball is my favorite time as a coach. You get the practice, you get days off in between, you get a chance to really teach. So excited about just still creating the mentality for this football team, but also figuring out a little bit some of the pieces that we have.
Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus for a look at some of the biggest news stories of the past week. For the most current news throughout the weekend, you can watch our latest newscast here on KREM 2 Plus. Just look for it at the bottom of the navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.